Hello, everyone. It's 6:02 on a Thursday, and thank you for tuning in to Remotely Entertaining. Looks like we're going to have one of those days in regards to technology, which, great, I don't care. As always, I am your host. My name is Jamie. Trying out a little different space here. I still look like a ghost in the lighting. I suppose there's maybe that can't be helped. I don't know. But hope everyone enjoyed the show yesterday. And I hope this is a good one too. So we're going to bring on Denny.
Hello. I'm glad to be here.
How are you? Yeah,
I'm
glad to have you. Good. Why don't you, if you'd like, take a moment and introduce yourself for everyone, and I'll see you in a minute.
Absolutely. My name is Dennis Greene. I go by Sonar. I have for pretty much my entire career. I was a sonar technician in the Navy and just jumped right into broadcasting. Actually, I'm a broadcast engineer. So what I do is I help people like Jamie and others essentially turn their dreams of creating content and help them make it and distribute it out into the world. Our company, AAMP TV, AAMP, stands for All Ages Media Programming. So if you're all ages, that means that you're actually involved in this as well. So that's what I do. I help people, and our company helps people take things from concept all the way to distribution. So if you're sitting around your kitchen table like most of us do, and we think we are the funniest people in the entire world, hey, we need a show. We should be doing this on television. We should be doing this on radio. I help you take that from your kitchen table and send it to more kitchen tables out there in the world. So essentially, I guess I connect people together, help create content, and really just help grow this new digital media space, or this new thing that I like to call multi-format networking.
All right, very cool. So now when you say all ages, I know people automatically think, oh, all right, it's cool for kids. But does that mean there's adult content as well?
Oh, absolutely. I've got a couple shows that broadcast here in Chicago, where I'm based out of. That is like an adult type of show. In fact, we do a lot of sports shows as well. And yeah, those do have to tend to be a little bit of maybe you can get away with PG-13 every once in a while on a sports show, but we do everything back and forth. We've had music videos that maybe adult actresses might have been in, but we cover everything. Really, what we try to do is somebody who has a great idea, we try to help them get it out there.
All right. And yeah, you kind of touched on it. It is becoming more and more of a crowded space. Does that make your job harder because there's more competition, or does it make it easier because there's a lot of people out there that don't know what the hell they're doing and could really use some help?
Yeah, so we try to hit both sides of that market. I've been in the traditional radio industry for a while, and what I've always had an issue with is somebody comes in and they say, we've got a great idea, but how do we get started? What do we do to just move this thing? And to take it on that side, this whole pandemic as well has really kind of separated the wheat from the chaff, because what it is everybody started streaming. As soon as everybody put on lockdown, streaming was the next medium, because we all started it. Now, when you get into April, May, June, people are starting to kind of fall out, mostly because, Jamie, as you know, it's hard to get up every single time and make content. That right there is the first thing. So if you don't have the drive to actually get up and do shows on a regular basis, you're not going to make it anyway. You might as well not even do your first show. I mean,
Sure.
It's one of those things that, yeah, I started making my own radio shows like most of you when I was 10, where we all talk into our talk backs, or we hold two speakers together and we make that radio DJ type of thing. But if we kept doing it every day since we were 10, we'd be professionals by now. And we'd have 50 million people that listen to our podcast. So that's one of the sides that we help. We help scheduling. I have producers on staff that if somebody needs help actually creating everything, because you can be a creative but not actually be able to make something. And just like I'm on the other end, I can make things, but I'm not necessarily that creative type. So so what we do is we hit it on both sides. We say, look, everybody is going to start doing this. So right off the bat, our space is crowded. But if you can hit good audio, and if you can hit good content and consistent content, that right there is going to set you above 50% of all the other, I guess what I call jobbers or the wannabes that want to do something like this. So we hit both sides. The other thing is, because it's such a crowded space, we turn around and say, okay, well, our content's going to be the higher end, and at the same time, we are going to supply services for everybody. So we hit them coming and going. So somebody comes in, we're kind of staged to take that large volume of people that want to try, and then we're able to actually, because we have that large volume, we're able to kind of distill down the good content, and that's where we turn around and maybe we get into our affiliate program where we go out and actually actively look for radio stations and television stations for you.
Sure. Yeah. And I don't know if you brought up this point or I just have ADD, but since you brought up adult actresses, it seems like there's kind of a sweet spot in broadcasts like this, similar to adult entertainment, where you want it to be professional, but not too polished.
Yeah.
You know, where you don't want to think you're watching a scripted, produced show, but you also don't want it to sound like shit.
Yeah. Audio is number one key. If I can give anybody a tip out there for streaming, audio is number one. You will lose somebody faster with it. I could be giving you out tomorrow's lottery ticket numbers. I can give you those. But if it sounds like I'm talking through two Campbell soup cans, you're not going to get to the Powerball.
So I'm sorry, Denny, I forgot to tell you, we're sponsored by Progresso, so you can't say Campbell's.
Oh, sorry, no Campbell. Sorry, Progresso. So Progresso.
I'm joking, Denny. I'm joking.
Exactly. So it's that same thing. And to go back into it, we're starting to actually see, because this situation, this pandemic that we're in right now, has completely upturned a lot of digital media, whether that's professional digital media or just the amateur, I guess, is to take it in the same vernacular. And what that's happening is shows like this, where we're just two boxes talking to each other, have made it to the mainstream media side. I mean, I'm watching PBS, and PBS has a captured Zoom call, or if you're watching C-SPAN now, is now captured Zoom call, and I'm just waiting for somebody to click on a different tab to where I see their email, like, because it seems like a screen share. But that's the direction that digital media is moving, because it's moving more towards the FaceTime type of generation. It's moving towards, let's have a conversation about something, because things that are commercial, things that are polished, things that are too neat are trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
So it's getting to that point where you almost have to have a sneaky way to advertise somewhere. So what we do is we kind of we do the exact same things that the big productions can do. I can do transitions. I can do the scrolling down at the bottom that you've got down here. I can do the transitions, everything like that. And what it does is it adds that feel to almost nostalgia, where
Yeah.
some of us older guys, we know about the AV clubs and things, and it was always the cool side. And now it's turning into where it's more about the content and the consistency than it is about how it's polished and how it's presented. So if that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're right on a lot of levels there. I mean, on one, I started doing this in March because I work for a digital marketing company. And it was very obvious that, at least for the time being, it wasn't going to be business as usual.
Mhm.
So my boss said to me, I don't want to fire you. I don't want to lay you off, but I can't pay you not to work.
Yeah.
So we kind of put our heads together and came up with the idea of doing like webinars. And at first it was going to be helping people work from home because we've been doing it for years. Well, as you probably noticed, it took about a week before everybody, from BuzzFeed to Johnny TikTok was telling people how to work from home. And look, the last thing I want to do is steal BuzzFeed's little thing, and
Mhm.
I'll do it for a blog all day, but I'm not going to sit here.
Mhm.
So that was when we kind of transitioned into having guests. And it's funny, I think that probably through the pandemic lockdown, wherever you were and whatever you went through, I think that was something that a lot of people really missed, was just that, whether it was interaction, leaving comments, asking questions, but also watching an interaction, but people that may have known me, they say, I don't know who the hell this guy is, but Jamie's probably not going to talk to some boring guy. So
Yeah.
see what he's got to say. And I really feel like, and who knows, maybe it's just that that's where my eyes are more now, but it seems like the medium has just taken off, with these types of things.
No, it absolutely has, because this, if you boil down any really good show, any really good interaction, it goes back down to the conversation. It goes back down to the content that you're talking about. I mean, talk radio and it has moved from just being radio, and it's now talk television,
Sure.
because talk is really king right now. And really, my prediction in the next 30 years is we will see more of the traditional terrestrial radio stations become more talk. What will end up happening is podcasts like this, and vodcasts and all of the other the digital media is going to take over the terrestrial side. Because if I wanted to listen to music, I've got so many different options to do it. I mean, I can go into a Discord channel now and listen to music. I can go to YouTube. I can go anywhere to listen to music. I don't have to flip on my dial. I don't have to dial into 99 point whatever. I
Yep.
but I can't really do that with a conversation. I can't really do that with content, with a webinar. I can't just turn on the dial and do that. So what'll end up happening is you'll find that terrestrial stations are going to be more talk, and they're going to be more locally based, because again, Jamie, we may be broadcasting right now to the entire world. People in Bangladesh can be watching us right now, and we thank you for doing that. But but what we're going to see is that even though that you are worldwide, things are going to start becoming more hyper focused. And I think it's going to be more hyper focused in both content and hyper focused in location, mostly for the terrestrial side of it. But it's because of that community aspect, Jamie. That's what we're always driving for. I mean, if you go to any show that's been canceled before, you can find an avid community that is constantly talking about that canceled show. And maybe that canceled show has been gone for tens of years. I mean, people, I'm sure, still talk about Cheers. So
do you have a favorite canceled show? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Community. Absolutely. Community is it for me. I'm hoping for that movie. We got 6 seasons. We need 6 seasons in a movie, so so waiting for that. But that's where I think that a lot of digital media is going, because there are already groups, and now you turn on top of it that now it's a conversation. Now it's not just posts. Now it's not 5 or 6 sentences in a feed. Now it's a conversation. Now it's let's listen to these 2 experts talk about it while we throw in community comments as we go.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I'd never really thought of it that way, but it makes perfect sense. My show that was canceled, by the way, Party Down.
Party Down's fantastic.
Oh my God. So good. But
that's
you're
on
right.
Netflix, I think, still, though.
Yeah, I think they did 3 seasons, and I don't know. I didn't get it because it's so good. Maybe the actors just got too good and wanted too much money.
Blew up. Yeah, right when Party Down canceled, that's when 40-Year-Old Virgin and all of those other movies came out. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Jamie. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, but it's it's a great point that as people's tastes, I don't want to say they get more refined, because that implies some sort of refinement, but as they get more focused, that's what they want to hear. Where maybe back in the day, you're in Chicago, so let's say you're a Cubs fan. You say, well, I listen to talk radio because I know they're going to talk about the Cubs 20 minutes out of the hour.
Yeah.
But now, with all the choices, there's probably a lot of people that say, no, I'm not listening to WCUB, because they talk about the White Sox half the time. So I go to this podcast or whatever it is, where it's nothing but Cubs talk. And you're right. I don't know if the taste or the desire has changed as much as the supply has changed. A good friend of mine, there's like one of those goofy rules that's like kind of made up, but whatever. It says, if something exists, there's a fetish about it.
I think that's Rule 34.
Okay, very good. And, I feel like similarly, if you created some sort of playlist or station about, I don't know, about the use of illusion in James Joyce's later works, you're going to get people that say, holy shit, where have you been all my life? It's not going to be a lot of people, but they're all in.
And Jamie, because you touched on numbers, here's the thing, is now the number one show is no longer 5-8 million people that watch it now. The number one network show barely tops 3.5 million. because there is so much other content out there. But that also
Yeah.
goes to show you that you don't need 8 million people anymore. You don't need 5 million people anymore. I'll tell you right now, you don't need 10,000 people. You could have a really good community that's or a show that essentially pays for itself in production and everything else with a good 2 to 5,000 people. You're going to look at it and say, well, that's craziness, that's not enough. But look at it this way, is how many people are you trying to reach with your products? Are you trying to reach everybody, or are you trying to reach somebody who's going to buy it? So
Right.
now, as a person who creates content, not only can you go after those listeners that are hyper focused on your subject, now you can go after those businesses that are hyper focused on your subject. Because if I turn around and I say, you know what, we really like Cubs baseball, like you said before, I can
Mhm.
turn around and go directly to maybe an independent sports equipment exchange company or things like that. So now what this does is it's no longer the corporate guys that are paying into the media. They're no longer saying, okay, well, here's a giant check for $5 million. Here you go, make a show, that type of thing. When you
Yeah.
can turn around and say, hey, I've got 6 small businesses that pay me $500 each a month, and we keep going. Because the way I like to do it, I like to do monthly with my sponsors, because I like to put an end date to my own productivity. If I'm not doing your business justice in a month, leave me. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste mine. Let's do it.
Right. No
But
one
what's
wants
happened?
to no one wants to be tied to a toxic asset. And I don't
Yeah.
mean toxic really, but if you and I had an agreement that you're going to be on here once a week for a month, and
Mhm.
after the second week you say, "Look, dude, I've said everything I have to say and I've heard more than enough from you." I don't want to do 3 more weeks knowing that
No.
you'd rather be getting a root canal.
Who's gonna watch it, Jamie? Who's gonna watch it? If the people on the screen are tired of doing it, why would I watch that with you? The other thing
Yeah.
with sponsorship, it's no longer just one company. Like, yes, we all want that $5 million check from McDonald's, or that five. As a sponsor, I can go in and say, hey, give me $5,000, McDonald's, and I will make a show for you. I hope Burger King's not the sponsor on this one, but
Yeah, not anymore.
so,
Thanks, Denny.
oh, okay, I'm sorry. Man, I'm just costing money left and right. So,
Mm,
so really what you can do now is, yeah, McDonald's is going to give me $5,000 to put on a show, but is McDonald's going to watch it? That's the other side of what you're doing. No, the big corporate big wigs at McDonald's, they're not going to watch it. But I'll tell you what, if I get $1 from 5,000 people, still the same $5,000, I am going to get the majority of that 5,000 people to watch what I'm doing. And that's where the market has kind of changed in our medium, especially, is it's not necessarily about finding that one sponsor to just say, this is it, this is the whole thing that we've got. It's going back to that community aspect, where if I'm going to pay you $1 a month to put on a show, I'm going to watch that show. I'm going to go to the Facebook page. I'm going to make sure I hit their website. I may even put 5 or 6 comments a month in. Oh, look out. But that's enough to drive a community and a show that that is the front of that community.
yeah, that's very interesting. I'm a Grateful Dead fan, and so I've been seeing that sort of thing for 50 years. Jerry Garcia said once, very famously, they were asking him about their music, and he said, "Well, we're kind of like black licorice. Not everybody likes it, but those people that do really like it."
Yeah.
And and I know, friends of mine have been doing like weekend little get-togethers, private parties with live music. And for the past 10 weeks, it's been a different Grateful Dead cover band. And
Wow.
guess what? Every week, 85% of the people I see are the same people that I've seen every week, and those
Yeah.
new ones, there's a good chance they're going to be coming back. So it's a great point, and actually something that I've been wondering more recently, with the political landscape as splintered as it is. I would think that prevailing wisdom, or maybe old business sense, would say if you have a company or if you're in business, you keep politics out of it
Yeah.
because you don't want to piss anybody off. You don't want to alienate anybody. And I'm wondering if that has changed, because now, if you take a firm stand one side or the other, yes, you may have alienated 40% of the people, but you've really ingratiated yourself to those other 40%, or whatever the numbers are. And it's funny because I see that more and more lately, especially with businesses where they're not, kind of going down the middle anymore. They are being more open about their beliefs. And, I've heard some people tell me, but you know what? If that means that this guy's not going to do business with me, so be it. We
Yeah.
probably weren't going to get along anyway.
Yep, I hear
Uh,
that a lot too. I hear a lot of, well, I don't need them anyway. Why don't if I don't even want those people involved in what we're doing anyway. You hear that from both sides too. Which one of my favorite quotes from Mr. Garcia myself is choosing the lesser of two evils is still choosing evil. So it is starting to go to that route where businesses have to do something political because the customers are asking. I mean, it used to be here, is this organic, is this farm fresh, is this so as consumers, we've all got more educated, we've all got more information, and I guess we're spoiled with this Library of Alexandria that we're talking on right now. Is
yeah,
I can look up any business and any practice, and I mean, other than peeking into people's tax returns, I can pretty much get anything or any information about a company. So that includes any posts that they might have made on one side or the other. And
sure.
so there's a lot of people that are now turning around, and that's their first go-to when they discover a new company. Oh, wow, that product looks really good. Let me check their social media. Let me
Yeah,
check what
let
they
me see
stand
what
for.
campaigns they've donated to.
Exactly. Because what they don't want to hear is that, I just bought these amazing shoes from this new company, and your friend turn around and go, well, that they burn 1,000 trees just to make that pair of shoes. You go,
Right,
oh my goodness, I've got to burn this pair of shoes, or what do I do with them now?
right.
I
Where's
can't
the
do
fire
that.
so I can throw these
Exactly.
on? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So businesses are moving in that direction. And I think content creation kind of helps that. Content creation kind of helps with you putting a flag down. You say, this is the way we stand. We stand for this. This is the thing that we do. And
mhm,
and a business is kind of like a person as well. Maybe you change your beliefs. Maybe you change. I mean, just in this pandemic, because of us being just this craziness that the world is in right now, the Ayn Rand Foundation accepted government money. So you
yeah,
turn around and you go, well, wait a minute, laissez-faire capitalism. Well, what are you doing to do that? And do you know how they responded? Because social media blew up about it. They responded with their own video explaining, this is why we believe this. We believe that we are entitled to this because of this. And so that's where companies can come in. And yeah, I can make a statement with a logo, or I can make a statement with a post or a press release or something like that, but it's not as effective as I'm standing in front of you right now, and this is how I believe, this is what I need, this is what my company stands for, and it's one of the,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's a great point, because you'd like to think, when we want something to be documented and kind of ironclad, what do? We write it down.
Mm-hmm.
But if I write you an email and I'm being snarky or whatever, you can't tell that from reading it. And conversely, you might read an email from me and say, what did I do to piss this dude off?
Yeah.
I'm not pissed at all, But you're
Mhm.
right. As unreliable as, eyewitness testimony has proven to be and things like that, maybe it's something about the human experience that we feel like if we're watching someone say something, we truly understand it, and we also understand the intent. You say, I saw Denny say this with my own eyes, and he was standing in front of a black thing and he looked very solemn and serious. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm buying what he's selling.
Exactly. It
Uh,
goes back to Poe's law, is the internet law of sarcasm, where you can't tell if what somebody's, it's got a name for it, of it's called Poe's law, I think. But
okay.
it's one of those things that right now you can see that, you can see that we're having a conversation, we've got smiles, we've got, you can tell that, you could even tell that in audio. I can pick
Mhm.
up your inflections. Are you asking me a question? Because for me, I like audio and video because I'm a terrible speller. I I got into radio because I liked stories, I liked books, I like everything else, but I
Mhm.
hate writing, the writing aspect of it. So there's a lot of creatives in that ADHD mindset that you brought up earlier, that
Mhm.
this is a perfect outlet for them because they can have that conversation. They are not sitting there typing 6 or 7,000 words per minute to try to
Yep.
get their ideas out of their head. So what this does is it's a really good medium to just experience each other's message the way that it's intended, which goes back to the press release that a company might put out, or whatever they posted on their social media at that time. That's why memes have grown so much, because now it's a picture with the words. So
Right.
you've got a little bit more stepping out of that 140 characters and pushing the number one button to get a C out of my to get a C
Sure.
out of my text message. So we've gone above that to where now anywhere you could have a message and you could do it live to all of the people that you want to have that message, and you can get it to them quickly, efficiently. And heck, I've seen companies that just pop on for 3 minutes at a time, and then they go right back to daily activities.
Yeah. Yeah. I just put up your website, and I want to go back to a conversation we had kind of off air, which is that by and large, you don't have a website.
Yeah, we don't have a website, so we're a network, a multi-format network. So I have shows, I have radio stations, I have producers, I have engineers. They all have their own everything. They have their own Instagrams, they have their own, just trying to get everything out there. So what I've decided to at great great trouble to my SEO department, but
Sure.
my argument is that let all of our clients, let all of our connections, let our network have their own websites, to where, if let's say I have a show, it's your show right here, Jamie, that we're going to have it right now. You have a website, you have Instagram. All I have to do is say, add AMP TV to everything that you're doing. Hey, hey, producer over here, make sure you tag AMP TV on that. Hey, person over there. So not only internally are we generating more SEO content because I've got every single person and all these other websites that have everything, myself not having a website now forces people to look me up on Google. They have to go to a search engine. And the best part is when you Google or if you put somebody's company into Google or Bing, or I guess to just not play favorites, Yahoo, I guess as well, if that's still around.
Sure. DuckDuckGo, web
exactly.
Yeah.
There's plenty of them out there. And what happens is sometimes it's your website that's first, but most of the time it's your Facebook that's first. Yeah. So what we do is we have this strategy of when somebody goes and looks up AMP TV, you can do it right now. You guys are all sitting at computers. When you Google AAMP TV, you will find press releases, you will find Facebook, you will even find some of our clients that are right there at the top, because now it's an incentive to join our network, join our guild, is the best way I can call it.
Sure.
Is that we're all networked together to where when somebody searches for AMP TV or searches for AMP radio or anything like that, you get all of the things that you're doing. Let somebody else do all the hard work, because the way I look at it is it goes back to doing it every day, Jamie. We're right back to that, where if you aren't consistent, you don't stay up to date with your website can actually hurt you, because it looks like it exactly. It looks like it jumped right out of 1996 and that's it. Even though you updated it back in 2010, 2015, everything's changing. So
that's a conversation. I'm sorry, that's a conversation I've had with a lot of clients. And in your line of work, what you do, what you say makes perfect sense, because the people that might not check you out any further because you don't have a website aren't the people that are going to tune in regularly anyway.
Exactly.
Like it said previously, but also, let's say you do have a website and you're spending $10,000 a month on SEO. Well, guess what? Facebook is still going to outrank you, because, now, with your Facebook page or whatever else, you're leveraging their SEO efforts.
Exactly.
So I agree. And I was looking around for a website, and I did all sorts of searches. I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? And to your point, I found plenty of information. I didn't wonder if I spelled something wrong. I just didn't find a website. And it's a very good point that as things change, and, there are certain businesses that I think 100% need a website.
Oh, absolutely.
And a good one.
We're not any kind of exactly, but we're not any kind of online marketing. So we don't sell anything out of there. And even then, if you go to amp.tv, that actually sends you to our Twitch page, where our broadcasts are live. You can look at the last 14 days of broadcasts right there. Some of the other ones we have archived, but built into Twitch is a online shop, and that's all we need. I don't need to have carts, and I don't need to. So there's a lot more SEO and a lot more things that a website would give somebody that I can't use. And to piggyback off your point of Facebook hates broadcasters. They absolutely hate broadcasters, because here's the thing. Let's go back to our show that has 5,000 views. Somebody can come to me and pay me $100 to reach those 5,000 people. They won't get close to those 5,000 people if they were to just boost a post on Facebook themselves. So that's why Facebook does not like broadcasters. That's why every time that you play any song, you play 3 notes of any song out there, they shut your stream down, because they know that a good, well-produced broadcast will easily outplay and incur money than what they can do by boosting.
Yeah, I got 2 funny stories related to that, actually. So my girlfriend had told me this, that it's kind of, I don't know, something they talk about on the West Side, that if you don't want a sex tape to go public, play a Disney song in the background.
Yep.
Because, Disney apparently has bots everywhere that, they hear 3 notes of their song. Nope.
That's it.
Take it down. Jackie Greene is I don't know if there's any relation, but he's a fantastic musician, and he does like a live stream every Sunday. And a couple of weeks ago, I saw on his Facebook, it was during the middle of the week. He's like, hey, sorry about blah, blah, blah. And he actually posted it. He got a cease and desist from Facebook via the NBA, because during set break of his live stream, he has like a screensaver, but you can hear him dicking around his house, whatever. He had turned on NBA TV, and that got picked up by the mics. So even though nothing was going on, it wasn't even a game, it was like a documentary or something, they reached out to him and said, hey, just so you know, this 2.5 minutes of your stream, we took down. The rest of it is up. But just so you know, which is fucking wild.
Yeah. Well, that's where monetization comes in too. I mean, if anybody's posted anything on YouTube ever, you get that demonetization. It did not make it because you used something that wasn't in the Creative Commons, or you didn't have the rights to it. BMI and ASCAP have been fighting me forever, because you have to get down to, it's the same technology that what's that app that you can push and listen? I can't remember now. I just use my Google.
It tells you what song it is.
Exactly. So now like what they've done, Shazam, that's it. Yeah. Google will do the same thing too. In fact, my boss lady, she just got a Pixel. And the Pixel will actually listen to every single song that you hear throughout everything. It's super creepy, but it's because it's based off of those algorithms. It's based off of this snippet right here will do this. So now I'll let you in on a little secret and a little conspiracy theory that I think as well. I think Facebook is doing that through your app anyway. So when you turn on the television, and let's say I'm watching Donald Duck, just to keep it in that same Disney sphere, I'm watching Donald Duck. I'm going to check my Facebook later, and there's going to be a Live in Illinois, Love Donald Duck t-shirt. Like it's going to be right there. And you're like, well, how did they know? How did they know that I like this thing? It's because our devices are actually listening to us. Nielsen actually uses that to get ratings. So what you do now, I think everybody's had those. You got the thing. I watched this. I listened to that thing. Now what you do is Nielsen will send you a little box, and you just clip it to you. And now I walk around, go through my daily life, listen to radio in the car, do all of that. And what it's doing is it's listening to all of the different sounds that are out there. And right now it is the actual sound, me saying these words in that particular order, blah, blah, blah. That's how they match it. But I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to be using sub-audible tones that our devices can pick up, but maybe we can't. Exactly. And what's going to happen is now they don't have to have every single file on this algorithm. They just need 22.7 hertz. Oh, that's ABC. Oh, 23.5 hertz. Oh, that must be NBC. So it's going to move to that point because we're allowing it. we allow all this stuff into our home because really it goes back to let's watch it. We ingest media. We are always watching TV. How many times, Jamie, have you heard I just keep it on in the background? That's just
Yeah,
back. Just keep it on there.
I do it myself with baseball game, more sports. I cannot sit and watch a 4-hour football game. I love football. I'll watch the Super Bowl, but I don't
Mhm.
have a favorite team like that. So Sunday, while I was tooling around my house, the Bills game was on. Did I
Mhm.
look up when? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
everybody's
yeah,
cheering. Look right up. Yeah, and while that's happening, when Budweiser throws that commercial, I'm sorry if Coors is sponsoring, but a hat trick right there. But a
yeah,
Budweiser commercial comes up, and it's got that same algorithm. It's hit on something, or maybe you're on Facebook and it's listening to you, or maybe you've got another app or something like that. So I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm not saying they're listening to you. The NSA is taking notes. It's all of that. It's more of this song was played, they must like this type of music. And frankly, it's the same thing that we allow in when we allow cookies into our web pages or anything like that, because what it's doing is it's tailoring our internet experience to us, which is the
yeah.
same thing as content creators. We want to tailor the experience of the listener, of the watcher, of the chatter. We want to tailor that experience to them because they're the ones that are driving the show in the first place.
Right. So it's, kind of maybe a backwards version of, so I like the Grateful Dead. So Facebook knows that they're going to send me ads for, steal your face candles and bullshit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess is the next step is as soon as someone figures out how to monetize it, they're going to send that other Grateful Dead fan maybe the link to this show if there's a guest on that's affiliated with the Grateful Dead, that we have somehow made clear in the metadata and things like that.
Yeah.
Have you ever read Infinite Jest?
Infinite Jest? No, I haven't.
All right, it's a
I have
fantastic
to.
book,
Let
but
me write that down now.
oh man, you're gonna hate me if you do read it, but it's brilliant. It's a chore, it's a slog, but it's absolutely brilliant. It was written in the mid '90s, but the setting was probably 2010 ish.
Okay.
So when the book was finished, the internet was not a thing,
Mm-hmm.
but the imaginations that he makes, he talks about a TP viewer, which is basically someone getting DVDs in the mail. So he talks about when broadcast TV shit the bed, the big three, and advertising is ubiquitous, but it's almost used as weaponry. So he didn't envision this personalized advertising, but an example. So there's a product, tongue scrapers, and the commercial, the advertising for it is so disgusting because it's literally a
Oh,
POV of this tongue scraper.
oh,
So that people would not necessarily in this order go out and buy a tongue scraper and change the channel.
mm,
So if let's say the tongue scraper is advertising on my channel, well, great. I've got great ratings up until the first commercial break, and no one comes back after that. So this advertiser is truly bad for my business and my show. But
exactly.
because so few people are watching it and they're making so much money, they're going to pay me more to advertise on my show.
Okay.
So it's a bigger, metaphor, microcosm for a lot of things where I know that this advertiser and the advertising and the product they're advertising is killing my business,
Mm.
but it's the only money I have coming in.
Yeah.
Um,
It's those
So yeah,
automated generated commercials. I mean, back in the golden age of television, back in the 60s and some of the early 70s, the networks would actually hire a person to make sure that the commercials matched up with the content, where there was
makes
somebody
sense.
who actually watched it and they said, well, yeah, if we're going to end this scene with a wedding, we're not going to advertise caskets immediately afterwards. What we're going to do is we're going to have this wedding, and hey, do we have any floral delivery
Right, 1-800
place?
flowers.
Boom, let's pop them right in there. So with being in charge of your own content and kind of setting up your own sponsors, you're not relying on the ppm that you're going to get from YouTube or Facebook or anything else, because you don't have to rely on that. And what you can actually do is you can just turn it off. You say, I don't want you to just shove commercials down my listeners and everybody's face. I want to kind of tailor what I'm doing. And that's where we were talking about earlier about kind of sneaking in commercials, where
Right.
maybe since it's a video, maybe you've got something hanging out in the background, or maybe we turn around and say, hey, this connection brought to you by so and such. Make sure you check them out at this website. Or, hey, JB, the other day I was at this website and I can't believe the stuff that I saw on there. It's one of those things that now advertising is starting to get baked into the content, because it's not just that smash cut all of a sudden, like, hey, we're grooving, we're having a good time. All of a sudden it's well, we're running out of time, we'll be right back after these messages. So it's not that anymore. It's that conversation that we're having. And just like we joked around earlier, which I hope we joked around about your sponsors, it's that same thing of, we can sit around and I've seen plenty of podcasts fund themselves just out of beer. You go to a brewery and you do a podcast and you say, look, man, give me some growlers. I'll make sure they're sitting here. We'll mention it. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about movies. I just want to come over and talk about movies, because where else are you going to have these great conversations but sitting here at your brewery? So it's with everything changing in media and everything else, advertising has to kind of change as well. And with that, businesses kind of have to pivot. And that's where I'm seeing independents thrive the most, because an independent on Monday can say, this is what we're going to do. On Thursday, it's changed. And on Friday, something else is already done. Now, corporate moves so slow, and that's why you're going to see these, and that's why you've already seen Cumulus, iHeartRadio. They're not going to tell you, but they are billions of dollars in debt, billions with a B, because they overexpanded. They thought that spreading it out and having every single station sound exactly the same is going to be the perfect thing.
Right.
Then digital
Stupid
broadcasting showed up.
Yeah, no, that's a
showed up.
point. Yeah, and I feel like it's like the expression, a little bit smart, or they know enough to be dangerous. I feel like people, I know it drives me fucking nuts if I'm sitting, with a group of people and a commercial comes on. Oh my God, I love this. You got to watch. No, you're fucking high. Like, no, I'm going to the bathroom or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the mentality that we've all grown up with, because that's old nostalgia television. That's how television used to be. It was, I'm watching cartoons. Why do I need to take my ginkgo biloba? I don't understand that as a kid. That doesn't mesh with me. Then you started to see that, okay, now cartoons are going to have toy advertisements, because that's it. And it's slowly starting to target to where eventually a Grateful Dead loving, book reading, vlogcast host needs this product right here. And I'll tell you what, Jamie, you're going to at least click on it to look at it. And that's all they ask.
100%. And to your point about kids and cartoons and shit, now it's the chicken or the egg. What came first, the toy or the TV show about
Oh
it?
my goodness, yes.
I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and really that all happened behind the scenes where we weren't allowed to see it. But we always saw GI Joe comes out. Oh my goodness, what's this over here? So now they've actually got launch dates for things. So they turn around and say, we're going to launch this toy at the exact same time that that character shows up on the show,
Yeah.
because that's independent content creation. And with that, it's customizable. Like it's the traditional terrestrial television is so confined in a time space too. You have to say everything that you want to say in this time space, whether I finish it in a half hour or whether it takes me 2 hours to actually say it and get my idea across. I still have to fit it in this box.
Yeah.
Jamie, when you have made your point, bye. Or
Yeah.
or hey, we might need a little bit more time to kind of unravel this bomb that you just dropped in the middle of it. I can't tell you how many times that I've been doing a radio show, and with 2 minutes left in the whole entire show, they go, so tell me about your childhood. And it's like, well, hold on a second, man, we've got 2 minutes, so
Right.
start talking.
Hey, Denny, we're about to wrap up right now. Is there anything last you want to say? Well, you know what? This reminds me of when I was at the grassy knoll in 1963, and I knew that fucking guy looked weird, but thanks, everybody. See you again.
I'll see you later. And now that there are times and places for that. So the example I always bring up is the because my business is still terrestrial, but what I bring up is Jon Stewart in The Daily Show. When he would have an interview, he turned around and looked right at the camera and say, if you want to watch the rest of this, go to this site. If you want to hear this, go here. So that's kind of the things that people that in my industry are still using terrestrial for, is they're using terrestrial to bolster their internet presence. Because even in that time restraint, they can turn around and say, you want to hear the rest of it? This is where you can find it. So it's being able to be hand in hand, because the terrestrial side adds legitimacy to your digital side. The digital side is an unlimited amount of content. Unlimited.
And it's on demand, or it's there when you're ready.
Exactly.
And just to kind of bring it full circle here with the advertising and everything else, with our kind of smart consumers, they don't want to be advertised to. It's like they say people love to buy, but they don't like to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to, right? The quickest way to get rid of an audience is to say, and now we're going to go to a commercial break. Good, great. But, if I'm sitting here drinking my smart water and checking my iPhone and, talking about this new system update that's coming out and the new iPhone that's coming out, people, will listen, because fuck, it beats reading a news article about it.
Exactly. But why? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, at the end of the day, it's advertising, except I'm not getting paid for it.
Exactly. Well, that's why in the corporate sphere, we always see sticky notes over things. So because even though it's obvious that they're using Surface Pros, obvious that they're using iPhones or whatever they're using, but because they're not getting money for it, they're going to put it in there. But I'll tell you this, what I do is I actually encourage my clients to actually add advertisements that don't necessarily follow them anyway. Because what's going to happen is, you drinking that smart water, somebody's going to put a comment out there, somebody's going to see it. They're going to be like, "Oh, Jamie's sitting there drinking that smart water. Did you know the smart water bottles are one of the best hiking water bottles that you can possibly find? It's so great that Jamie's using one of those." And what that's going to do is it's going to spark somewhere else and go here and do that. Before you know it, you're getting emails from Smart Water going, "Jamie, I saw that 70% of your shows you're drinking smart water. Can you keep doing that for 100% of the shows?" So it's one of those it's one of those tactics to where you can actually kind of use it as a placeholder and say, "I'm drinking smart water now, but maybe I'm getting some Fiji on Friday." So it goes back and forth because it's all advertising and it's all content creation. The way I look at it is advertising itself is content creation too. Even back to your friends going, "Well, watch this. This is a joke. This is a really good, really good commercial." It's still content creation. And what they've done is they've just heavy-handedly advertised to you. Now, if you watch a show over the course of an hour, course of a half an hour, you may see 5 or 6 product placements and not really know about it. I mean, it's back to Wayne's World eating Pizza Hut. It's back to that same kind of concept where it's a prop. I used to do a show called Dad Bod Dance Party, and everybody's got the internet, so go ahead and look at it. I got IMDb credits for it. Yay. So, but we were product sponsored by Mountain Dew. And it was a workout show. It was a show where I essentially stood in front of a green screen and played, I think it was Dance Revolution or something like that on a video game behind me. And we would take a break in between, and I'd be like, "Oh, I got to stay hydrated." And somebody would throw me a Mountain Dew. I'd drink it. I'd throw it back to him and I'd say, "Okay, what's the next song?" And it's one of those concepts of kind of baking in your advertisements to where even if somebody was to cut your content into its segments and cut it into back to that traditional type of rigid format, they can't take your content out. They can all day cut your commercials. I'll cut your commercials out all day because you've already said we'll be right back. Boom, commercial time. I'm going to take it out, but they can't take out your baked in. And that goes for the ticker that's going across the bottom right now. That will go for logos that are in the side next to you and back to your smart water where it's right there. It's in their face and they don't realize that that's what's happening. Before you know it, somebody's going to turn around and say, "Oh, I'm pretty thirsty. Hey, what about that smart water I'm hearing about?"
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's funny, whether it's Super Bowl commercials or just really funny, clever, expensive commercials. The best ones, I would say that fewer than 60% of the people can tell you the company or the product. They say, "Did you see that commercial? The dude steps in a bag of shit and then, gets the flour on his head and then it's his surprise party and his grandma's there." It's like, "Oh, I heard about it. What are they advertising?" Fuck if I know.
Yeah.
But it's a great commercial. And it's funny because, to your point, if I really cared enough, I guess I'd go to YouTube to look for it. And what is that going to do? It's not only going to tell me what product it is, it's going to tell the producer of that product, "Hey, this jackass just went to YouTube to find an advertisement that you're running."
Yeah.
So it's almost, to your point about your website, it's maybe even better for an advertiser to not plaster, Pepsi Cola across it because, and I just thought of this is how my life happens. Maybe a lot of that is on purpose because they do want someone to kind of identify themselves by going online and finding out more about the commercial.
Absolutely. It's almost like but the way I look at that is almost fishing. It's more of like here's a big mess, here's a train wreck, and then you go and Google the train numbers. What train crashed? What were the car numbers? So
Right.
it's back to that content and advertising dissonance. There's not a good flow back and forth where it's seamless. Maybe it's too seamless, and that's why it just disappears. But that's not the point of advertising, isn't it? You still want to. You don't want to be heavy-handed about it. You don't want to be like, buy this, do that. Like, you don't. Those call to actions are really, really abrasive. They're, why haven't you done this yet? Are you dumb? Like, it takes you back to that. But
I think even the, hey, thank you for joining Remotely Entertaining. I'm Jamie. As always, I'm brought to you by this mouse. The makers of this mouse want you to know that I use it because it moves this arrow around on my computer, and without it, I'd be fucked because my hands are too big for this little track box. So we've got a guest, and it's like, fuck?
Yeah, but that jumps right into to take your example, that would flow right into what you're doing right now anyway, because it's what you're using. Now, if all of a sudden I turn around and say, here's a giant yellow Nerf ball, hey, buy this yellow Nerf ball. Right. It completely stands out. It's out of nowhere. And that takes us back to what we were talking about with our PPMs. When all of a sudden you merge a commercial in there, like we've all watched those YouTube videos where kind of seamlessly they can kind of put those in there. But again, it all goes back to whatever cookies, whatever your internet ID is. So I may be watching a camping video, and then all of a sudden razors come out of nowhere and say, here you go, you got a beard, do stuff, because I might have had to look up something or anything like that. And it's so out of focus that it draws people away from both sides. We were talking about the separation of both sides, and that's what it does. Is it kind of adds this dissonance to what you're watching, where yes, creatively, sometimes you want that in your content. You want it to go from day immediately into night, that kind of thing. But you don't necessarily want that with what's paying for what you're doing. You want it to be smooth. You want people to enjoy it. You want people to you want to definitely remember.
Yeah. So as we're running out of time here, we'll kind of try to put a bow on it. Really that I think might be part of the reason for this renaissance of user-generated content. Because if the stated goal or unstated goal of everything that you plug into a power outlet is to get as much information from me, the person, as it can, so that it can advertise directly to me to take money out of my pocket and put it into theirs. When it first started, and I noticed it, on Facebook and in native advertising, said, wow, it's been 3 weeks since I've seen an advertisement for a douche. What's going on? And when you start to see things like, what the fuck? Me and Denny were just talking about this yellow Nerf ball, and now YouTube's telling me where I can buy it. And as that happens more and more, I think maybe people get wary of it.
Yeah.
And they do want to not be sold to and almost be entertained for the sake of being entertained and not be a pawn for, corporate sponsorship.
And nobody wants to be bombarded with ads. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes to be attacked by ads because they're offensive. They just constantly coming at us. So what I'm trying to make in this movement almost is, let's let the consumer do the legwork for you. What's happening now is they're taking little bits and pieces of our lives that are completely out of context. Maybe you looked up the douche or the yellow Nerf ball because you wanted a gag for a birthday. But now the internet and Amazon thinks that you want all of these things. You always want them for the rest of your life. You will always want these things. And that's not how we buy things. I buy things because my friend might have said something about it, or I buy things because I have experience with something along these lines, and maybe they've got a new version of it out there. Which I think, to take us back to the beginning, to kind of go full circle, is back where our businesses now are taking stands. Because if you turn around and you find and do your research on a business, because we're all smart consumers now I can go in and say, well, you know what, this company helps save the rainforest. I bet they do a lot more other things that I appreciate. Or I'm an advocate. Yeah, I'm an advocate for saving this. What companies do this? So that's where you're kind of back to a friend suggested it to me, because now our friends have opinions. Our friends have strong political views and beliefs. Now we're trying to get that from our companies too, because it's no longer just a flat company. Now I'm investing in that. I'm investing in the company. I'm investing in the content that they create. I want to be a part of this community.
Right. And because we have so many choices now, it's not like, I mean, I can think of one product that I haven't found a suitable replacement for, and that's A1 sauce.
Oh yeah, you'd have to make your own, and that's too much of a hassle.
Yeah, but other than that, to your earlier point, if I love my iPhone. Why? Because I don't want to learn to use anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And Apple's certainly tried me with all the bullshit they pull. But if it ever came to the line where I say, no, that's where I draw the line. They support using babies to kill baby seals, and I can't do it. Well, guess what? I'm not doing without, because I can find another, thing that does the exact same thing.
And I think that is what's really going to break up these larger companies. I don't think we're going to get any kind of break apart or what do they call it? The Sherman Act. I don't think we're going to just see any of this. Exactly. Yeah. I don't think we're going to see these. I don't think we're going to see them in the next 10 years, at least. But I think what's going to end up happening is we already have division between Apple and Android users, Xbox and PlayStation, but PC Master Race has got everything. But what I'm saying is, that's what I think. I think the consumers are going to break them up, because most of the time consumers lead trends. If you can see what the consumer is doing, you can see where the industry is going to eventually become. And what I'm starting to see is that quality and vision is really what is separating at least my generation. I am barely a millennial. So, so my generation, we've grown up with the internet. I used to still do book reports and everything else with encyclopedias and paperbacks and all that. But my generation has essentially grown up with the internet and grown up with the knowledge that this company supports this thing, or this advertiser also is this lobby over here. This is. I mean, the biggest word in my generation when we were growing up was Monsanto. Like, going back to that, we were able to look at that closer than any of the other generations before it, and that's why we've kind of picked our brands, picked our content, kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say stayed in our lane or refined everything, but we found what works for us and what works with our lifestyle, and heck, we found our clique. Everybody wants to be part of a clique, be part of the Android clique, be part of the Apple clique. It doesn't matter. There's nobody that goes, I'm part of the cell phone clique. Nobody says that. Somebody says Apple or Android. Well, I got an LG once. That's still Android. Shut your mouth. Like
Yeah.
they're still part of
No,
it.
and it's funny. I had seen, like a cartoon a couple months ago, and it was saying, in the 1950s, and it showed two people in the kitchen. They said, "Shh, don't talk about that too loud. The phone could be tapped." And now
Yeah.
today, it's, "Hey Alexa, how do I make meatballs?" It's like,
Yeah, out of human corpses, like that kind of stuff.
right.
It's
It's
crazy.
just, I feel like as much as things change, and it's usually very slowly,
Mhm.
I feel like probably in the past 5 to 10 years, we've made a sea change here. Real quick example, and then I've got to bounce off here. Like my boss, I had sent him an email couple like last week. I was looking at a proposal and I said, "Hey, what is this CMS?" I had never heard of it. I knew it was a CMS, but I'm not a techie. I'm not a web guy. I said, "Hey, can we work with this?" And next time I went to Facebook, there was an advertisement for that CMS. And
Mhm.
that was the only time I didn't know what the hell it was. And I just feel like even 10 years ago, if that would have happened to me, I might have flushed my phone down the toilet because it's
Yeah.
spying on me.
Well,
And
it's
now,
the whole foot in the door, foot in the door type of psychology where they got a little bit of you. Okay, well now we're getting a little bit more. Now you're getting more used to it. Oh, hey, by the way, here's Shazam. Now you can push a button and it'll listen for you.
right. And now my phone listens to me 24/7. And I'm not even surprised when I go on Facebook or Google or whatever,
Mhm.
and their suggestions or whatever, I know where they come from. And it should scare the shit out of me because, we're all trusting people and we live in the land of the free, right? So we say, well, that information would never fall into
Sure.
the wrong hands because Google has it. Uncle
Yeah.
G is going to take care of me, and
Yeah. And I mean,
yeah, he's going to
Google's
sell
whole
it to
thing.
advertisers. But
Yeah.
if the government says, "Hey, we need to know, who was in this city block between 10 and 10:30 because something heinous went down," whatever. And look, I'm all for law and order and everything else, but make the cops work a little bit. I mean, it's just not even any
Yeah.
fun if you say, "Hey, Google, show me all of the cell phones that were within this city block from 10 to 10:30 4 weeks ago on Thursday," because
Mhm.
goddamn well they can do it.
Absolutely. No, we've all seen Batman. That's exactly what he did. He fired it up, echolocation everywhere that's going on, because that's and taking it back to that algorithm. Now what they're doing is they're going to start looking for keywords. You say this, you do that. But again, we as human beings, we change faster than the technology can. So what's going to end up happening is if there is a buzzword that somebody's getting pinged on all the time, we're just going to stop using that word. We're going to
Yeah.
move over to whatever Urban Dictionary happens to say about something. So
Yeah.
that's the faith that I have in a lot of this. Is, I mean, other than what Lindsey Graham's gonna or is trying to get us. I mean, they're trying to put in a back door. That's a whole thing. Read about that. But yeah, into that same thing, we voluntarily give these to people. Go
Yep.
to a website for the first time. What's the very first thing that pops up? Do you accept our cookies? The
Yep.
only way you're going to go to our website, the only way you're going to be able to look at what's going on is our cookies. It goes back to everybody's heard the old adage of if you're looking for flights, delete your cookies because they know where you are, they know where you've been. It's that same kind of thing. So, I mean, yeah, will we be able to delete our cookies? Will we be able to delete our history? Sure, but it's archived somewhere. And we
Yeah.
have freely given that because we have said
For
Facebook.
convenience.
For convenience. You're absolutely right. And it's that whole adage of, if you're getting something for free, they're taking something from you that you don't necessarily want them to have. Facebook is the exact same way. Facebook's free. Log into it, do whatever you want to, sign up with it with 6 or 7 emails, however you want to stalk old girlfriends, do whatever you want to on it. But know that they are looking at every single thing that you type. That's why it doesn't just pop up as a regular thing. They're looking at every single.
Right. Facebook is free, and yet Mark Zuckerberg is a trillionaire. Explain that to me.
Yes, that's exactly what those senators asked him. How does Facebook make money? And he said, well, I don't sell your information.
Right.
That's not how I don't do that. But they do. They sell the information. Exactly.
That's another conversation.
Now we're diverging a little bit too far.
Yeah, but Denny, I'd love to have you back. I mean, this is all fascinating stuff that, I am interested in, and I do. I kick myself in the dick every time. Every time I do a Gmail account, and I say, Jesus, it's like, give me the courtesy of a reach around, for God's sake. I know you're going to do all this shit, but do I really need to publicly acknowledge? Yes, I understand that I'm a series of numbers to you now. So, yeah, Denny, exactly. I really appreciated this. Read Infinite Jest. I'll talk to you in 2 years when you.
I definitely will.
It's a great book. It's a slog and it's work. But before we go, tell everyone how to find you and why they'd want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Google us, AAMP TV. That's where we are. AAMP, All Ages Media Programming. The Sports Circus is one of my, flagship shows where we bring on all kinds of celebrities. I think I've talked to Kevin Sorbo a couple weeks ago. Just today, we were in the Georgia House of Representatives. So we pretty much do it all. The phrase that I've got, and I keep getting yelled at about it, but I'm going to say it anyway. We do everything production and everything distribution. We do everything in between. So anything from a 15-second commercial that needs to be edited and cut and everything else for you, to running entire radio stations, our network AAMP does that. We are a multi-format network. I use it on my MFN system, and we send everything out from theirs. But thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And anytime you want to talk industry, I'm down. Even if you want to just call me up, Jamie, we don't even have to have listeners.
Right. Absolutely. That's perfect, Denny. Seriously, I appreciated that. And I'm sure we will talk more. All right. Thank you, bud. Bye. So that was Denny Sonar Greene. That was really cool. A lot of people, when I have guests on, they'll be like, can you ask me a list of questions? No, I don't know what I'm going to ask you. And if I did, I don't think that'd be very interesting. I don't think I could get up for it. Because people are a lot more interesting than the top 10 things that they'll tell you they give a shit about. Really, I don't care about those top 10 things. I want to talk about the rest of it, usually. So it's really cool. I think we covered a lot of interesting stuff there. Thank you all very much for tuning in and for watching this after the fact. I do appreciate it. And I will be back tomorrow on the Site Hub channel, where I have the CEO, founder of ArmchairQuarterback.com, a goofy little app that you can predict what play is going to be run on the football game that you're watching, and then you get points if you get right. So we're going to talk to him tomorrow at 3:00. And next week, right here, we have Jasmine. It's spelled like Shojai. I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced. But in any case, next Thursday at 9 p.m. Thank you guys very much. Be well. Be safe. All that stuff. And we'll see you soon. Thank you.